Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Astrid Asks. Today, I have a special guest. We have Zoe here. Let me go the other side. I keep forgetting this opposite side. Zoe's going to be part of the LPW show Don't Grow Up, so we're really excited about that match. But I have a couple questions that I have, but also a couple from the community as well. So
Sure.
I'll start with mine, and then we'll get to the other ones later.
Sounds good.
Um, First, I did want to ask, because I was curious based on your matches, what wrestler or like match inspired you to become a wrestler?
So the first match that made me start to think of it was Oscar versus Bailey at Takeover Brooklyn 2. Um, it was like I hadn't been watching for a couple of years. My family had moved a bunch and we just didn't have the channel, and it was before I got like super into it, so I never like went and like sought it out at that point. But that was like the first match coming back to wrestling where I'm like, oh, it's like different. It's not bra and panty matches. It's not these catty like storylines sort of thing. Like these are actually like athletes like wanting to like compete and like having these like banger matches. And I'm like, oh, mate, like that was the first one that like really sparked the idea, and then it just like didn't go away for ever at
Yeah,
that point.
yeah, I feel you. I felt the same way with watching NXT when it first
Mm-hmm.
started, and then I had like I will go to the tapings and events here and there, and one of my favorite matches has been like Sasha and Bailey. Their
Oh
matches have
yes.
always been incredible, and I was there for that Iron Woman match, and it inspires
Oh,
you
that
to
would
keep
be like
watching and keep
wild
going.
to be in the crowd for.
Yeah,
Holy
yeah. I
jealous.
probably definitely one of my favorite matches ever to like been like there to see it. It doesn't get any better than that when you're watching it there like live.
I can only
Um,
imagine.
yeah. Another one that I had is just what's something that you hope to accomplish in your wrestling career?
Um, I want to change like perception because I think like it's in on its way to like women's wrestling specifically. It's like it's grown a lot and people are like really having eyes on it, but I still think sometimes people get into the mindset of like how it was like even 5-ish years ago, where it's like, oh, the women's wrestlers, they're not good wrestlers. Like um they're just kind of like there. But I really want to change perception to be like, no, like women's wrestling, like there is no difference between women's wrestling and men's wrestling. It's just wrestling. Um, and just change that perception so people are like, it's not going to be a good match. It's a women's match. Stuff from the, let's go grab food and whatnot. And just kind of wanted like people to like have more eyes on women's wrestling and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I was watching a couple of your matches, and it inspired me to. I had to ask this question after watching them. What has been your experience like wrestling in like mixed or intergender matches so far?
I love doing intergender matches. There's a couple of companies that I've worked for where that's like all I did was intergender wrestling. Um, and it's so much fun because there are different stories that you can tell, um, different like power dynamics and like just strength and size that I can't always have with like the women that I'm around currently. Um, and there's like a lot of like different things that you can do with the men. Like they know how to base for literally everything, whereas a lot of times the women they haven't been taught how to base for the things, and you don't always have time to like right before the show be like, okay, this is how we're gonna do it, and like practice it a bunch of times and make sure it's good enough for a show. Um, Not saying that, and then like, and they can get there to like be able to base, but it's just not always able to in the 10 minutes before when you have like ring space to do it. And it's just like a lot of fun because um, for a while it wasn't often that I was able to wrestle the guys, and now it's easy. It's easy to wrestle the guys. They have so much more experience, especially compared to the women that are in Alberta. Like we have Kat Von Hees, who is like the more senior woman here in Alberta, but she's only been wrestling for 10 years, whereas a lot of the guys that I've wrestled have been wrestling for like 15 or so years, and so it's um, being able to be with in the ring with people who have more experience and have been different places and can like bring knowledge that like not everyone else has, and it's very helpful that way as well.
I saw one of your tweets from after the PWA show that you had recently,
Yeah.
and this is for this question. That's why I was asking you if you're a friend or not, because I had to know. I was like, "What is your favorite Taylor Swift song?" I had to ask.
Right now, I don't know. It's so hard to tell. I always like Shake It Off. It's just like a good like pump up, whatever, happy tune. I'm really on my like workout playlist, which is going to be like weird to people, but like Haunted's on my workout playlist. So I listen to that like fairly often, and I don't know if I have like a specific favorite, but those are up there at least.
Yeah. I know recently you had a match in the Saddle Dome, which was
Yes.
you versus Ava versus Gigi versus Taryn, which I thought I wish I could have seen it because I seen the pictures. It looked like you guys were having fun together, and I
That
wish I
was
could
so
have
much
been
fun.
like watch it or see it live somehow. But
Yeah.
I wanted to know what was your experience wrestling there in the Saddle Dome for that 4-way match.
It was awesome. So that was the second time PWA has ran the Saddle Dome, and I was a part of the first one, but none of the other three girls were a part of the first one. They weren't with the company at that point, and like Gigi and Ava hadn't started wrestling by that point. But this one, it was so cool to like be like the first one, like I was able to experience it and that was cool, but it was cool seeing other people experience it for the first time. And it was really surreal because I love those girls, and yeah.
Yeah, I love seeing the pictures afterwards. Like I love that friendship they have together. It's like seeing everybody.
Yeah.
If you want to be a post, like my feels. I love them.
Yeah.
I did have a question for regarding the event that I wanted to ask, but before that, I wanted to
Yeah.
show everybody what the match that you have going on at LPW coming up.
Cool.
So as you saw by that clip, we have Nicole Matthews and Kc Spinelli versus Ava,
Yes.
who I already interviewed, and Zoe, who's here. So I did want to ask if you had any words for your opponents at the event.
Me and Ava know each other very, very well. We've teamed together and we've been opponents for so many matches. It's not even funny. So we know each other like super, super well, and don't underestimate us because we're coming to win. There's no doubt in my mind. Yeah.
There you go. But anything else like regarding the event that you're looking forward to the most?
I'm really excited to see like what Taryn and Stephen Crow do. That's gonna be a wild match. Best friends now. Stephen's wanted that title, and I've also wrestled Stephen, and he's no joke. Taryn's no joke either, and she's not gonna take it easy on him just because they're friends. But that'll be a match that's like I'm very, very excited for. It'll be fun.
Yeah, I was watching the clip. I was like, "Oh, that's gonna be an interesting story to watch."
Yeah.
So, now that you mentioned Steven, actually, he submitted a question. I have a couple questions on like the community
Yes.
that they submitted, and one of those from him. He was asking, "What kick is your favorite kick when kicking him in the face?"
I mean, a good old haluva kick is like the step up haluva kick that I gave him made him bleed twice now because of that. So like, I'll go with that one. I mean, Pele kick is nice. Don't know where that one's gonna land ever. So all of the kicks, Stephen, all of them.
I do have another question from Bobby. We call him Dream Badge Bobby.
Yeah.
He was asking who is the dream opponent at Capital Championship Wrestling or Mission Pro Wrestling.
So I don't know a whole lot about Capital Championship Wrestling. But I know more about Mission Pro. So I'll go with that. I don't know if she's like a full like member of the roster, but I know she's done a couple of shows. But Gigi Ray, love her. I had 2 singles matches with her and a couple of like other matches, like tags and stuff. But I love wrestling her. She's so awesome, and would really love to like work her in in a different country, in Texas. That would be like really, really fun.
Yeah, that's a good one actually.
Yeah.
I have another one for Thaddeus Asher the third. He was asking if you feel, how do you feel the Archer Report interviews has improved your promo game?
I think it definitely at least helped with like confidence being in front of a camera. Because that's something that I really had to work on. Like, legit would be like shaking the first couple times, like not knowing what to say. But now I'm getting like, it's still happens every so often, but now I'm getting like more and more comfortable, at least standing there and just like talking. And that definitely helped give me the experience, very hands-on at a show while there's like other stressors going around as well. Because it's one thing to be like at home trying to like talk to a camera, but then when there's like, you have a time, you have to like do this fast because you have other stuff they have to go to, and you're stressing about like remembering stuff for your match and remembering that this and this and this has to be done. So I think that helped at least getting more confident in front of the camera on the schedule.
I have another one from Zach. He's the host of Power Out and the Smart and Friends podcast here on Love
Yeah.
Wrestling. He was asking, was Landstorm someone whose career you followed as a fan and before you became a student?
No, honestly. I'm fairly young. I was born in 99. So like I only caught, from what I would have seen, I only caught like the very, very end of it. Um, and I have, but then I did go back once I like saw the school, and like when I mentioned it to like my dad, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Landstorm's so good," and so I went back. So I never really followed his career, but then when I went back, it's like, "Oh yeah, no, this is definitely who I want to go and train with." And then there was no doubt at that point.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I have another from a friend from In the Hot Seat podcast. They were asking, what is your favorite match in your career so far?
Oh, I had a friend ask me this recently as well. I don't know if I have like a distinct favorite. Um, just there's just I wrestle so often, and like so many of them I love for so many different reasons. I had a match with Ava Lawless in October, and we just everything hit. It wasn't like anything like super crazy or super like looking at it super special, but we just went in there and like we're gonna do the stuff that we know we can do, and try and like make sure everything hits. And it did, and like the crowd was into it, and we were just firing on a different level in that match, and that one's one of my favorites. The match that I had with Nicole Matthews at Clandestine Society, Act 1 in 2019 was like super, super awesome, for like a lot of different reasons. It was just like, it was the first time I had worked somebody who had been brought in. It was just like, I learned so, so, so much in that match. And so this tag match is going to be like super awesome because I haven't shared the ring with her since 2019. And then the Saddle Room show. Clearly, like, yeah.
I did have, this is like, I guess, the most special question of the whole show. Wanted to leave at the end for that reason. I have a question from Kayla for you.
Oh.
Kayla was giving me a story, so I figured I would share the story with everybody, give a little bit of background before I give you the question.
Yes.
She was telling me about the Force Pro Wrestling show that you had. You had a match. It was a 15-minute time limit, so it ended up finishing up in a draw or a time limit, if you want to call it like that. And she sent me the links to the matches I was watching. I was like
Yeah.
so impressed. I enjoyed it so much, and I was watching towards the end. I kind of forgot about the time limit, even though she told me about it, and I
Yeah.
was like, "Oh my god, Kayla tapped! Oh my goodness!" And then I kept watching, and then the commentators go, "No, the draw," and I was like, "Oh no!" I was like, "It was so well done," and I was not expecting it to finish that way. And then she told me that later on, like an hour later, you guys were in the main event in the tag team
Yeah.
match with the guys. But she was telling me about that story. I wanted to know if you had anything else you wanted to bring in about that story first.
Um, that match was so much fun. It was the first time I think that I had even had to go more than 10 minutes. And like it's a 15-minute draw. So it's like only 5 minutes more, but it was the first time that like I had more than 10 minutes of stuff. And so like it was for me at least, it was a bit of a challenge to like think of things and like not put in too much, but also not put in not enough, so that way we can hit our times and that sort of stuff. And so it was like a lot of fun to put together. And then having that, it was also, oh no, it wasn't the first time that I had wrestled twice in one night, but I think it was still the longest I had been in a ring wrestling, like between the two times. And it was so much fun. I always love working with Kayla. She's so awesome. And then going into the tag match, working beside MRB and working with Dylan Stone, it was just like a super awesome match, and I love it. It's one of my favorites for sure.
She did have a follow-up question. She said, when you and Kayla finally reunite in the ring, what kind of match are you two having?
Oh, I don't know. She tried to hit me with a kendo stick once, and she like handcuffed me to the ropes. So I'm gonna say like some sort of like no disqualification match or something, because like I gotta pay her back from that. My wrists were bruised for like
Mm.
2 weeks. Come on.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, she sent me that, and I was like, she's like, please tell her. You have to ask her that. You have to ask her about this experience. And I thought it was so funny. She's like, I got a question for my friend and former opponent, and I just thought it was so funny. I knew I had to ask you about it when she mentioned it, and she sent me the links to the matches, and I was like, yeah, this is pretty cool. It's like how these girls like go on a draw. Obviously, we have no winner, and then they get to involved in the men's match, and then
Yeah,
that ending with Kayla and MRV. I was like, holy moly! I was giving her
yeah,
like I felt like a play-by-play. It's like I love when you guys sit there so towards the end. It's pretty cool. So and you
yeah,
had to
that's
ask.
fun.
But yeah, I'm really excited about your tag team match at LPW Don't Grow Up. It's
Me
March
too.
25th, which is on our Twitch here on Love Wrestling. So you'll be able to watch it, but you have to subscribe in order to comment with us as we watch the matches along with all of you. But now to wrap up, I wanted to ask if you could tell me about your socials and anything else you have coming up to tell everybody else.
Yeah. So my Instagram is at Zoe_Sager. And then my Twitter is Sager Zoe, is at Sager Zoe. One was not available on whichever one, I can't remember which. You can find me every week at Real Canadian Wrestling shows. I have one tonight. It is the 13th of March, tonight in Edmonton at the Norwood Legion. Then you can find me every Friday night in Calgary at the Legion number 1 in downtown, and then either Saturdays or Sundays in Edmonton at the Norwood Legion as well. And then I am also on a Prairie Pro Wrestling show on March 26th, the day after the Love Pro Wrestling show. I don't know who will be working yet, but yeah, stay tuned.
Oh, a lot of exciting stuff. But yeah, as all of you know, you can find me here on Tuesdays on NXT with Cody and Ed. If not, I'm here on Wednesdays doing the All Elite Sidecast with JPJ and Plugo. And you know, who else when any of us will show up here in Love Wrestling, which is the beauty of it. More than anything, that you can see us on Saturdays blowing our stream or Sundays for brunch. You never know. Just tune in and watch, and tune in and with us March 25th for the LPW Don't Grow Up show. We're really excited for this event, so we want to see you there. And this has been another episode of Astrid Asks, and we'll see you next time. Bye.